Hello everyone, I am here once again to discuss with you our week 3 lesson, and it is entitled Morality of Human Act. So in this topic we are going to talk about what are the basis in evaluating our human actions, whether it is good or bad, right or wrong. So let's start with the essence first to morality. So when we speak of essence, it actually refers to the attributes or set of attributes that makes a thing be what it fundamentally is. It is often called the nature of a thing, such that it possesses certain necessary metaphysical characteristics or properties, in contrast with merely accidental or contingent ones. It is often considered a specific power, function, or internal relation or set of relations which again makes the thing be the kind of thing that it is. So that's when we speak of essence. Now, when we speak of essence of morality, so no, we already know what morality is. It's the quality of right and wrong. So why is it important? That's why when we speak of essence, it's actually trying to see the importance of are the mind capable of identifying good and bad, no? And then what about our freedom as a human person? Is this freedom that we have is absolute? Well, the in this in morality, we discover that our actions, our human actions are is actually uh, how we have this power. No? We are. It is believed that human actions are those of which a man is a master, which he has a power of doing or not doing as he pleases. So while it is true that we are physically free to a certain acts or to omit them, it is up to us, or we will do something that is in the contrary, or to choose an act on the other side. But the question is, are we also morally free regarding all such acts, no? Or another question is, am I licensed to do what I want to do in all occasions, in all situations, no? So our reason probably would say no, because even a child, no, it is evident even to a child that some actions are good in themselves and others are bad, no, morally bad in themselves. So the good acts, our reasons approves and commends, which we call right, while evil acts are our reasons disapproves and blames, which we call wrong. So the idea of right and wrong are like those of truth and falsity, or cause and effect, no? So they are primary ideas which common to all men, which are trustworthy ideas. So this implies that the distinction of existing in the mind, for example, in what is, as I've mentioned previously, that what is right from wrong, what is truth and what is false, no, or what is the cause or what is the effect. So this is actually a what the mind are capable of trying to identify its distinction. So then in morality, it is also uh, important that we know that the idea that right and wrong correspond to the distinction existing objectively in a human act. So that's why that's the importance of, or the essence of, morality. Our mind is capable of distinguishing what is right and what is wrong. So it is important that we should know this in order that our human actions will be guided by morality. Now, let us proceed. So, before we talk about how are we going to determine whether a human act, in particular, a human act is good or bad. But first, let us try to define first what is a human act. We also have the idea of act of man. So these two things are actually have differences. No? So let's start with what is human act. Human act in ethics is actually refer particularly with those actions which you, man no, refers to those actions which is an actions which proceeds from the deliberate free will of man. So when we speak of human act, these are actions that is voluntary or free. No? These are actions done with knowledge and consent. So when we speak of human act, these are actions which are proper to man as man. No? It is because of his intellect and free will. So when we speak of human acts, these are acts which we are conscious under our control and for which we are responsible. So human acts are those of which man is master, which he has the power of doing or not doing as he pleases. So in other words, human acts are actually those uh, human acts that must be done. It must be done with knowingly and willfully. So the essential elements, as I have shown you on your screen, when we speak of human act, these are acts which are knowledge, freedom, and voluntariness. So these are the essential elements that made up of a human act. So number one, it must be deliberate, meaning it has the knowledge and freedom. And then number two, the action must be performed in freedom. And the third is the act must be done voluntarily, meaning there is this intention. It presupposes knowledge and freedom. So this is what human act. Now, what about act of man? So when we speak of act of man, it is actually the opposite of human act, wherein there is no knowledge, no freedom, and no voluntariness. So it actually refers to the act of man that is performed indeliberately or without advertence, without knowledge or freedom. It is done uh, without voluntariness. Okay? So what are the examples of act of man where there is no knowledge, there is no freedom or voluntariness? So I will give you examples. Number one, sleep talking. So this is one example of acts of man. Number two, sleepwalking. Number three, daydreaming. So in other words, you are not conscious, there is no freedom, there is no knowledge, no voluntariness. So these acts are acts done among infants, those in delirium, or in the state of unconsciousness. In addition, the biological or physiological functions or processes which occur in our body, such as the circulation of the blood, the growth of the hair and nails, and the opening and closing of the valves of our heart, like breathing, etc., are not human acts. So that's the difference between human acts and acts of man. So when we speak of human act, all human acts are acts of man, but not all acts of man are human act. So that's the difference between these two. So where can we morally responsible? Which of these two are where we can really say that the action is morally right or wrong? We don't have the right to say that it is right or wrong on the other side, like as I have mentioned, whether it is a human act or act of man. So morality, it, it is only in human act where there is moral bearing or significance. In other words, we we can have moral responsibility or accountability only in human act, but not in the act of man. So dili ta pwede makaingon nga ang act of man kay morally right or morally wrong. Dili ta pwede makaingon nga sleep talking no nagistorya ka diha og daotan ma-immoral ka ana kay you are not conscious about that. It is, in other words, you are no, there is no knowledge, there is no freedom. So only in human act. Okay, so let us now proceed to the most important thing that that determines the morality of human act. So this is the basis. How are we going to evaluate the human act? Number one is what we call the object of the act. So the object of the act is also actually referring to the act itself. So meaning the we cannot act without doing something, and that something done is the object of the act, like for example of going, eating, praising, etc. No, the act or object may be viewed as containing a further specifications, for example of going to church, praising God, eating meat. Now an act that's specified may, when considered in itself, be good, bad, or indifferent. Thus, to praise God is good in itself. To blaspheme is bad in itself. And to eat meat is in itself an indifferent act. But that an individual act may be good, its object, whether considered it in itself as or as further specified, must be free from all defect. So when we speak of the first determinant of morality, ang atong gitan-aw diri ang act mismo, no? So naay tulo ka klase nga gusto na ko ninyo masabtan aning object of the act itself. Number one is that naay mga act nga gitawag nato og inherently, meaning to its from its very nature the act is good. Example of this act kanang the act of caring, the act of taking care of the elders, no, the act of loving, the act of protecting. Kani sila gitawag ni sila og mga inherently good acts.